All right, good afternoon, family. This is For Veterans by Veterans podcast. We're on episode number 26. So we want to thank everybody for joining in. We're moving on up, man, like the Jeffersons, man. So I am one of the co-hosts, Michael. We got my other man, Jamal, and we have a special guest with us today. We got Melody Suain all the way from Fort Myers, Florida. The insurance queen. Melody's got you covered. Is in the house today.
Woo! Thank you all for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, thank you for being a part of our show today. So Melody, just tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
Oh, well, like you said, my name is Melody Suain. I was born and raised right here in Southwest Florida. I've never left the area. I've lived here my whole life. I've never seen snow or anything like that, and that's okay with me. I prefer the sunshine over the cold weather. I'm the mother of a 9-year-old, my son Justin, and he's the best thing I ever made. I love him dearly, and my main focus is to basically just help families and protect families, show them how to make more money, save more money, and I'm passionate about what I do.
Awesome. We're glad to hear that now. So today, our topic for today is financial foundation. So financial foundation. And so we wanted to bring Melody in just to talk about, if you're building a financial house, you have to have a foundation. And what Melody does is really set the foundation. Mm-hmm. Am I correct on that, Melody?
Absolutely. It's what most people do is when you're building your financial house, they want to start with the things that they want. I want a big TV. I want I want a nice car. I want a nice house. But, God forbid something happens with a car accident or a devastating diagnosis, that foundation is not there. And so if that foundation crumbles, then everything else will follow. And when I talk about the foundation, that's your income. If your income stops, do your bills stop? No, they don't. And so most of the time, people don't have the income foundation in place in case tragedy strikes. And that's where I come in. I show people how to set the proper foundation for their financial house and their financial life to make sure in the event of tragedy or in the event of unexpected loss, your family will be covered. I'm passionate about this because I was a client before I did what I do now. My husband and I, back in 2011, we got our financial plan done at 31 years old. And I'm thinking, we don't need additional coverage or anything like that. I was a stay-at-home wife building a cake business, and he worked for the sheriff's department in Naples. And I said, we're good. We have a savings. We're fine. And he's like, no, maybe we need to just get some additional coverage just in case. And I said to him, listen, don't close your eyes on me. I said, because if you do, I'm going to go shopping with the little bit we get. And I laughed. And little did I know that 5 months later, after finding out that we were pregnant, I'm 5 months pregnant, and then my husband came home in pain. I rushed him to the emergency room, and we never left after that. He had test after test, scan after scan, because of abdominal pain that he was having. And when those tests came back, it turned out to be a very rare abdominal cancer, and they gave him about a month to live. And I'm 5 months pregnant, scared to death. And luckily, my husband was as strong as he was, because he ended up living 10 months to see our son turn 6 months old. He was there when he was born. He got to hold him. And my son, after all that I had done for him, said dad at first. And my husband was alive to hear that. And so when I tell you I'm passionate about what I do, it's because I could have been in a terrible financial situation had we not gotten our foundation in place.
And we're all glad to hear that there, Mel. Your story is one that is of inspiration and motivation. And now, and the thing is that Melody's husband, his name is James Swain. He was a veteran,
Yes.
so he was a veteran.
Yes,
Go
he
ahead,
was a
man.
medic. He was a medic in the Army, and we were high school sweethearts. We loved each other from ninth grade on. He went to the military, came back. We still loved each other, got married, planned the rest of our life, the American dream. We had just purchased a home. When he was diagnosed, we had the 2 cars almost down to the white picket fence, and we were we were 31 years old, getting ready to have our first child. And next thing you know, a devastating diagnosis came. And since he was a medic in the military, he was going to school to be a doctor, getting all of his prerequisites done. And he was on his 3rd year of college when this diagnosis came down. And so a lot of people get into the financial sector because it's good money. That's not what I'm here. Somebody saved my life, and so I'm here to save others.
Amen to that. Amen to that. And you want to know what's crazy about it? James talked me into getting insurance, and I was always a believer into it. And he was like, "Man, you probably need to do this as well." So Melody did our first policy. Me and my wife did our first policy. And then the crazy thing about that, you look at 4 or 5 years later, I get diagnosed with sarcoidosis at 35. And once you get a diagnosis, like, you're uninsurable. So if I waited till I'm 36, 37, then I don't have an insurance policy for me, So now you're up the creek, and God forbid if something happens, Melly, what do you always see on Facebook? God forbid something happens.
We always see a GoFundMe. And the thing about GoFundMe is, first of all, GoFundMe takes a portion of the money that people donate to you. So no matter how much money you get, you're not going to get all of it. And also, especially it was through the pandemic, there were a lot of people that didn't have a lot of money. A lot of people lost their jobs. And so when you're asking other people to donate to you, they may not have it. You don't know how much money you're going to get. And let's just say you do get a little bit of money to cover the costs of the funeral. Well, what about the mortgage the next month? What about your car insurance the next month? What about food, shelter, and clothing for your children? What about all that? The bills are going to still keep coming, but the GoFundMe has ended. What's going to happen if all of that money stops and your bills keep coming? And that's when people find themselves in financial ruin. One thing that most people don't know is that after the breadwinner or a spouse passes away without insurance, the surviving spouse usually loses their home within 18 months because they can't afford it anymore. Because most families are a 2-income household. Let's just say you are a single parent and you have 1, 2, 3 kids. No matter how many kids you have, if something happens to that single parent, who takes care of those kids? How was somebody going to financially support children they weren't expecting to get? And that's what I'm here to help people plan for.
So Jamal, let me ask you this, man. Since you last out,
Okay.
since you last out, right? So you're in the military. You did 22 years, right? Or 21 years, right?
Nobody's good.
Thank you for your service. Thank you. That's amazing.
Appreciate y'all. Thank
So now when you got out, and let's say 90 days after you got out, what happened to your benefits?
Well, I retired, so I got to keep some of them. We got.
Say that one word again. You did what?
I got to keep some of them. I didn't lose everything.
Because you did what?
I retired.
Okay.
Yes, but at the time, I mean, hey, if it's your time, it's your time. I don't know how I retired. Don't ask me. I just made it. I don't know. With that being said, we sat through these briefings and they tell you these different things. And there's a lot of people that I kind of had the mindset myself where, well, I don't need to pay for. They got a survivor benefits plan. I don't need to pay for that. We're good. Or they have the TRICARE. You can opt to get on the TRICARE insurance. And I've seen a lot of guys. Oh no, I'm not doing that. And then you get out here in the back in the civilian world, and medical insurance is sky high, and you don't have that coverage that you had while you were on active duty, where you can just go to the doctor and get seen and not have to worry about co-pays or anything like that. And that life insurance policy that you had while you were on active duty, was it 400 or some thousand?
Right.
That goes away. So you got to go and start transition. That year that you're transitioning out, you should be. These are some of the things that you should be looking at, because if you ETS, you're gonna lose all of those benefits. If you retire, you're still gonna lose some of them, or you'll have a portion of them, or you have to pay a little bit more. But so those are things that I kind of saw as I was walking out of the door.
Okay, so Mel, let me ask you this. So, and right now we're going to talk about life insurance. What are the different types of life insurance?
Well, there's a few different types of life insurance. The most common type of life insurance is cash value life insurance. And a lot of people have a policy where they have a savings account attached to it. And we don't recommend this type of policy for a few different reasons. It is usually a lot more expensive for a lot less coverage. They charge you to have that savings account connected to that life insurance policy. And so let's just say you're paying $150 a month. 50 is supposed to go to your cash value, and $100 is supposed to pay for your life insurance. Well, for the first 3 years or so, that $50 that's supposed to go into that savings account doesn't. So if you tried to pull any of it out, that your account would be $0. And so they're like, no, you don't have anything in there, because that money went to go pay the person who sold you that policy. And so also that $100 doesn't get you as much coverage as something called a term policy would be. So a term policy is just like your car insurance. If you get a certain amount of coverage, you pay every month for a specific term. And so the company that I work for, we go up to 35-year terms, and a lot of companies don't go up to that amount of time. But when you're young and you're healthy, 35 years can come and go with a quickness. But guess what? At least you're covered during that time, because we believe when you're young, when you're healthy, the insurance is going to cost less. And so therefore you can get a lot of coverage for not a lot of money. And during that 35-year span, you don't put your savings account into that life insurance policy. We open up a investment account for you. So the money that you're actually saving by buying a lesser expensive life insurance policy, we want you to invest that. So by the time that 35 years comes around, you have a lump sum of cash waiting for you. You don't need to renew your life insurance policy. And so that's the philosophy that we teach. There are a whole lot of other insurance products. And if you don't know what you have, you can absolutely call me and I can look over it and tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly that's in the fine print of your insurance policy.
Oh, Melody, I really like that. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Right, it's almost
there's a lot of ugly out there. There's a lot of ugly, and a lot of Americans, a lot of people do not know what their insurance covers. The worst policy that I ever saw was when someone had a policy and it was for $250,000. $2,000 of it was full coverage life insurance. The other $248,000 was accidental death and dismemberment. It did not cover cancer. It did not cover any type of medical diagnosis. It did not cover if you died from any type of sickness or medical procedure, if you were out of the country, if an act of terrorism, if you got hit in a car accident and did not die on the scene, you were not covered. But in the state of Florida, and a lot of people don't know this, that if you're in a car accident, they cannot pronounce you dead on the scene because a medical doctor has to pronounce you dead. And so they can take you to the emergency room. You're already gone, unfortunately. They can take you to the emergency room, and then that's when you're pronounced. But then the insurance company sees it. Well, you didn't die at the scene. You died from the injuries from the accident. So therefore, you didn't die from the accident. And therefore, they won't pay. And so she's paying $200 a month for $250,000 worth of coverage and only getting $2,000 if anything had ever happened to her. And that's what I find in the fine print. And so if you think you have insurance, let me read it and I can show you what it says. I can interpret it for you and see if it's good, I'm going to tell you it's good. If it's bad, I'm going to tell you it's bad. And I'll be completely 100% truthful and honest with everyone.
Oh, we're definitely glad to hear that. And we're going to put Melody's information up at the end. Before we go to our next question, we got another guest host that's joining us today, all the way from he in Montgomery, Alabama, the home of the elephant. Mr. Walker, man, thank you for joining us today, man.
What's up, sir?
Nothing much, man. So, hey, man, so we got Melody Suain on, and she's educating us about life insurance, man. So, you jump in anytime, man. You got any questions about life insurance? So she's just schooling us on it right now.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting already. I ain't even catch the whole thing. I was like, man, wow. But yeah.
Read the fine print.
Right. So Melody, let me ask you this right here. So we all were in the military, and we all signed up for the $440,000 at age 18.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I got out, I was 22, 23. Walton, you did 4 years longer than me.
So you about 20, 28, 29, something like that.
All right, 28, 29. And then when Jamal got out, he was knocking on 40, right? So Melody, can you help us explain to us if we get it when we're 22, and then as those years goes by, does our insurance, does the amount we pay go up? So let's say I had it when I was 18, and then now I'm 22, or let's say like Walter, he's 28, or let's say I wait when Jamal got out, I'm 41. Is there a big difference with me getting insurance when I'm 22 versus when I'm 40, 41?
Absolutely, it does. When you're young and healthy, that is going to be the youngest and the healthiest you are ever going to be. And so the thing about life insurance, or we don't even call it life insurance. Our company, we call it income protection, because we can't replace the life, but what we're actually doing is replacing the income. And so when you're young, your early 20s, most people think this is the healthiest I'm going to be, so I don't need life insurance. That's the exact time to get life insurance, because it's never going to be any lesser expensive. Okay. And so the lesser expensive it is, the more coverage you can get. And so if you want to get $500,000 in additional coverage, also side note, we do insure people in the military, because some people don't, because if you're on active duty and something happens to you, they won't cover that loss. But our company doesn't do that. We do cover active military associates. And so the older you get, there's a higher chance of you getting a sickness, or getting a disability, getting in a car accident, having heart problems. And so the older you get, the more expensive life insurance becomes. And so we always, if I can get a 20-year-old, 22-year-old If they're single, guess what? Your life insurance is not going to be expensive. And once you get married, start having kids, you don't have to get multiple policies on those additional individuals in your family. You just add them onto your one policy. A lot of other groups want you to get a policy on the husband, a policy on the wife, one on the kids, and then you're paying multiple fees every year because you have multiple policies in the household. With us, you can get everybody on one policy, husband, wife, kids, and it's only one price for the kids for $6 and some change, whether you have one kid or 10 kids. It's all $6 for $10,000 in coverage on the kids. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't insure their kids because they're like, oh, they're kids, they're going to live forever. And we come in contact with people that unfortunately have had something happen to their children, and then they have to put that on credit or something like that, where you have to pay that bill every month, which is devastating for those families. And so we insure the entire family under one policy, and the younger you do it, the lesser expensive it is. And also, the younger you do it, the younger you are when you start that investment portfolio. So you give that money time to grow. So you don't have to invest so much every month when you're young. That $100 will go a long way when you have 35 years. When you're 40, that money, that $100 in investing does not go as far, and you have to invest more money to build up that retirement portfolio. So by the time it's time for you to retire, you can have more money. The one thing about our life insurance is we educate people on life insurance, but we also educate them on investing and saving for a retirement, because most people, they don't retire properly. They rely on Social Security or just a few different types of benefits. But what if you could have your own lump sum of cash that you've been saving, and we teach you how to grow in a relatively safe manner?
Wow, Melody, you kicking game to us today. Now you are kicking game to us today. So let me ask you this right here. So
can I say one thing about our investment portfolio? My husband was a stickler for, listen, I'm gonna just put it in the bank where it's safe. I don't trust the stock market. You can lose it. You can lose it. You can lose it. We were married for 5 years, and we were excellent savers, to the point where I'm like, honey, we've got to make money for us. We're working hard for it, but it's not working hard for us. And so he's like, okay, we'll find out some ways that we can invest our money. I was like, okay, well, I know about a CD. Let's put our money in a CD. And we did, and we tied up a good chunk of change for about a year, and we made $100. And we had to pay tax on that $100 after that year. And he's like, Melody, I can save my own $100. So we're not going to do that. I'm like, there's got to be a way for us to invest where we won't just lose all our money at the drop of a hat. Once we got our financial plan done and we got educated on how the stock market works and different investment vehicles, soon as they left our home, he closed the door and he's like, Melody, I think it's time for us to invest. And I said, that's only what I've been saying for 5 whole years. And so once we started our investment portfolio and we got educated, when he passed away, I was the beneficiary of those investment portfolios, and it jump-started my retirement. But had we not gotten educated, we would have lost every red cent that he had been saving through his job. And so again, that's where my passion comes from, because I'm not just a person who learned this in school. I'm a person that's lived this.
Okay, so Mel, let me ask you this right here. Sure. So you got, Jamal, he just got out of he just retired. Mm-hmm. And he got all this time on his hand. And he wants to know more about insurance, and he want to educate people too. Mm-hmm. How can Jamal get into the insurance industry?
Okay, there are 2 different ways to get into this type of industry. A lot of people go the college route, and they go to school for finance and things like that, and spend thousands in college tuition. And then once you get out, you still have to take a lot of state and federal tests in order to get certified to do what we do, because we're a highly regulated industry. Or you can work with the company that I work for that covers the cost of your licensing. I tell people for $124, you can get the same financial education that a lot of people pay $50,000 and go to school for 4 years. Okay. My sister decided, like, listen, I just want the financial education and I want to be able to take care of my own money instead of paying somebody to do it for me. Guess what? She joined our company and got licensed and learned so much just to take care of her daughter and make the financial decisions, the financial decisions that she needed to make for her family. Okay. And so if someone wants to know and manage their own life insurance, manage their own investments, they can absolutely come and work with our company and make additional income, because our goal is to reach as many people as we can. Not many people are coming in our community or dealing with veterans because they automatically think that, oh, they're veterans, they know better, the government teaches them what they need to know. And that's not true. So there's so many people that are either in the wrong product or don't have any life insurance or investments at all. And so we need a huge army. Hello, veterans. We need a huge army of people to go out there to teach other people how to financially build their own house and save themselves.
So, Walton, let me ask you this, man. So when you were getting out, and when I say getting out, we're not talking about prison. We're talking about getting out of the military. Do you remember them sitting you down and giving you a whole financial education class?
No, I don't. If if I learned anything, it was from like hearsay. Certain people would pull me to the side and just tip me on a few things, but no, I don't recall any classes like that.
What about you?
One. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I was just going to say, you're not the only one. No one sits children down in school. And so that's why kids go off to college, they get their first credit card, and then their financial lives are ruined, or they're fighting back once they get out of college through debt and credit card debt, student loan debt, things like that, because no one's ever sat down and talked with them about how to protect their financial life and their financial credit.
Oh, you financial credit. Now we've been talking about this here, fella. So, Mel, can you help us out with So I have a life insurance policy, and I have the investment part of it, and then I have something that comes up. Can I go and get money out of the investment part and still able to keep my life insurance?
Absolutely you can. It's the one thing about that cash value policy where you have that savings account attached to it. Like I said, the first 3 to 5 years, it doesn't grow or it doesn't accrue or grow or anything like that, because that's going to the person who sold it to you for their commission. When you have your investment separate from your life insurance policy, that's your money. You have access to your money at any given time. If you were to call your life insurance company and say, hey, I have $10,000 in that savings account, they can take up to 6 months to pay you that money. So if you're in an emergency, they can say, well, listen, we're going to check things out, and they can take 6 months to write you that check. Also, in that savings account, normally they can that savings account will grow at 1 to 4% interest on your money, which is literally pennies every year. But if you were to take that money out and say for an emergency, use that money, they're going to charge you 8 to 10% interest on your own money. And so Would you rather be able to access your own money with possibility of getting maybe a 9, 10, 12%? Now, I'm not saying those percents every year after year after year, because sometimes the market is up, sometimes the market is down, but you have a better chance of getting a better return on your money in the market than you do with the life insurance company, who is only going to look after their bottom line and not yours. And so I'd rather be able to access my own money at any given time versus waiting for another company to decide, hey, I'm going to give you your money 6 months down the line.
Wow. Fellas, y'all got any questions?
Man, I do, but I need to talk to you offline.
Sure. Anytime.
I got a lot of questions. But yeah, I think I'm halfway there. I'm not quite where I want to be. We're working towards it, but I think medical coverage we're okay, life insurance we're okay, but that investment piece and trying to tie that all together is where we need to, at least in my household, where we need to put our focus and try to get that squared away.
I'm working on some investments myself.
Okay, very good. That's what I actually love to talk to people about, because everybody knows with my story, life insurance, I'm passionate about, but I'm also passionate about that investment part of what I do, because not many people know about investing and investing properly and investing in such a way where it doesn't cost a lot of money. You don't need a lot of money to start up. I've started investment portfolios for $25 a month. Some people just give me a certain amount of money during tax time and their portfolios grow, or you can pay every month. It just depends on what's right for the client. A lot of other companies out there, if you don't have $250,000, they won't sit down and talk with you. And so people who have, $249,999 or less, which is the majority of Americans, who's going to sit down and talk with them? And it's people like me to sit down and educate them, because in order for them to get to that $250,000 threshold, they have to start somewhere. And most of the time it's with $100 a month or a tax return here, a little bit of their tax return there, and we can show them how to go ahead and use that to their financial benefit.
Wow. So, Mel, let me ask you this. So, like, let's say I want to get life insurance, or I want to do an investment. Does my credit, does it get checked? Do I have to have good credit to get insurance?
No, you do not. You have to be relatively healthy to get life insurance. If unfortunately, if you are in prison, we can't do life insurance or anything like that. But if you're relatively healthy, you can get life insurance.
He was a security guard. I know he left it out there just floating. I couldn't let you go out like
correctional officer.
Right. I love correctional officers. My husband was a correctional officer, and so I love them. And so we can definitely cover them too. But no, credit is not a factor when you have a savings account or an investment account. It does not matter if you have bad credit. And the one thing about what I do as well, before I recommend anything to anyone, I sit down and give them a comprehensive and confidential financial plan. Because before I recommend anything for you, we need to see where you are. And with our financial plan, we look at your debt, we look at your life insurance, we look at your retirement accounts, we look at your household expenses and see if we can lower those. A lot of people, as soon as you sit down and talk with someone, it's like, oh, hey, I think you need to be in this, without learning anything about their client. And so they'll have 5 or 6 different things that they can offer, and then everybody gets those 5 or 6 products. With us, you sit down, we find out where you are, we find out what your financial goals are, and then we actually give you a roadmap on how to get there. It comes with a debt reduction plan. It comes with how much money do you need to retire. If you want to retire at 65, how much money are you going to need with the expenses that you have right now? And we actually give you a number to shoot for, which is called your income protection, your financial independence number. Because before, when you retired, it used to be, hey, I'm 65, I get the gold watch, I get my pension, I'm on my way. Now, you can only retire if you have the correct amount of money. A lot of people just put an arbitrary number away, and then when it's time for them to retire, they're like, oh, I don't have enough money to retire. And my goal is to keep you out of a Walmart vest when you're 70 years old, because that's by the time that 5 years comes up, Social Security is not enough. And therefore, they have to go back to work. You see elderly people working McDonald's and Walmart and other things. They'd rather be on a golf course somewhere, but they don't have enough money. And so I teach you how much money you're supposed to have when you retire. I teach you how much life insurance you have just to cover yourselves while you're investing and saving money. And so if I can help also lower your homeowner's insurance, car insurance, and if you want to refinance your mortgage, we have people in our office that are qualified to do that. And so if it affects your finances in any way, I can help you with it through our customized financial plan.
Wow. So it's one-stop shop.
One-stop shop for your, it's like a financial GPS to get you to your financial goals. And a lot of people charge $1,000 for that financial GPS. With us, it's free, because if you're not on track for retirement, if you don't have enough car insurance and you're in a lot of debt, and I charge you $1,000 to tell you that, did I actually help you? No, I didn't. I just charged you a lot of money to tell you what you already knew. So my goal is to give you that financial plan, show you how I can help you, and then implement the plan to get you to those goals.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. First Sergeant, what else you got, man?
Nothing else. I just need. I'm like the listeners out here. I'm waiting for this information to come up so I can schedule an appointment.
Yeah.
Right. So Melody, you got to get Jamal's information and Walton's information, and then we're gonna put your stuff up. It'll be down below. This is my first time doing this here, so it'll be down below.
Sure. Anybody can give me a call anytime. My telephone number is 239-826-5158. And you can give me a call anytime. You can text me on that number, or you can email me at yourfutureisnow2020@gmail.com.
All right, you'll be able to see it down below. All you gotta do is just scroll down, and you'll see all the information.
Yes, sir.
You know, we getting fancy on the For Veterans by Veterans podcast.
I see.
Next, we're gonna be able to do this and this.
Yeah.
And this. And this. You know, so. But, hey, Melody, we want to thank you for coming on and blessing us with this information. We know it's going to help, you know, not just veterans, but just people in general, you know, because this is information when it especially comes to our community, you know, we just lack information, you know, and I think if we knew about this information earlier, you know, give you an example. You know, when you was talking about the kids, so my two oldest daughters, they're on our insurance policies. Now, when they turn, I think 26 or whatever, like they can go get right now they can go get their own insurance policy, you know, and be the owner of it, you know. And so I think that's the one thing that kind of trips us up, is that when you're in the cash value, and I watched my grandmother. She paid $50 a month for 30-some years, you know, and for a $5,000 policy. You know, it's just like James. If you save $50 a month for 30 years, that's more than $5,000. But how many people in our family, you know, have those type of policies? You know, where the man, he come once a month, you know, and the insurance card is hanging on a nail, you know, at the top by the door or by the window, you know, and when she or they get their money at the beginning of the month, they put their insurance money in there and he comes by and picks it out. You know, so we're in a different age, and the more people we have like you, Melody, that are educating our community, the more it's going to help our kids, grandkids, and great grandkids. You know, because you know, information changes situations.
Absolutely. Absolutely, it does. And it's time that we use the information to create generational wealth. It's not just, okay, let's get a little bit to pay for the burial. No, my son, because of the decision that my husband made, my son has been playing the violin since he was 4 years old. He plays Bach pieces and concertos now at 9 years old, and I wouldn't have been able to give him that had we not gotten our financial plan done. He goes to private school, and so now his private school has an online program, and we are in, so that gives us time for us to travel. And instead of talking about the Washington monuments in school, I can take him there to go and see them, and we can visit them and travel. And so it's not just about paying for the burial anymore. It's about actually uplifting our children and giving them a stepping stone to start their lives. And then guess what? We get them insured and we pay for it through the proceeds of the life insurance, and then get them covered, and then their children gets to benefit from the proceeds. Because the one thing about people, we're not making it out of here alive, okay? And so we all know one day God is going to call us home. And which position do you want to leave your children in? Your grandchildren? Do you want them to know your name because you've left that generational wealth to uplift that next generation? And then within 3 to 4 generations, imagine if everyone follows that philosophy, what type of legacy your family will be able to leave that next generation. And so within 3 generations, if everybody did the life insurance and investments, it will change your entire family tree for generations to come. And that's the one thing that I love teaching people about. But somebody has to get it started. One person has to start the ball rolling. And then if you keep it rolling, you wonder how families like the Rockefellers and things like that, they got as big as and wealthy as they did. It was all through life insurance. And you insure $4 million, you insure the next person for 5, you insure the next person for 10. Guess what? And it goes up and up from there. And so that's what I love teaching people, and to see people realize what they can do with something like a tool like life insurance and investments. It's really exciting, and I love teaching everybody that I can. And so give me a call if you want to know about creating generational wealth, protecting your family, and starting to invest, getting out of debt. The last thing I'll say is this: debt is one thing that traps us all, especially in the Black community. And I tell people, debt is the new slavery, and I am Harriet Tubman here to get you out of it. And so get that debt reduction plan, and that's what I'm here to do, to show you how to do it and get you out of it and get you on the right financial track.
Hey, I love the sound of that. Love the sound of that. So look, I'm gonna leave it on this. So back when I used to do insurance, you know, I would sit down when I sat down with couples. I used to always ask the husband, if God forbid, if you pass away, how long do you think it'll be before your wife remarries? And all of them would say, "Oh, she ain't gonna never remarry." And then I found this article, and I think it was USA Today, might have been New York Times, and it says that women who are widows and their husband didn't have any life insurance on them, they will remarry within 90 days. Mm-hmm. Why would they remarry?
They had to
replace the income. Mm-hmm. You know, and so a lot of those guys would kick me out of their house. They would say, "Man, you got to go," you know. most of them that next day within 24 hours will give me a call back and say they want to do a policy, because if you don't leave her with anything and you happen to go first, like, she got to remarry, and Melody, James did a great job of leaving you and Justin in a great situation. And so I'm gonna ask you this question here, Melody. Have you remarried?
I have not. I was retired for 2 years because I went from a wife with no kids to a single mom in 6 months. And so I took 2 years to get my life together. And I was retired with my grandparents. You knocked on our door before 10 o'clock. We were all upset because we were still asleep, us and the baby. And so I took 2 years off to figure out where my life was going to go. And I could financially afford to do that because of the decision my husband made. And I am not in a rush. If God sends me somebody, that'll be great. But that was never a primary focus for me because my financial situation was taken care of because of the decision my husband made at the time. And I can't thank him enough for it.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Fellas, y'all got something y'all want to, leave us off with, or any other questions, concerns, comments?
After
Do
that.
not ask me anything about insurance because I'm gonna send you the Melody.
Please send them my way. I'd love to help.
Yes.
All right. Well, Melody, once again, we thank you for blessing us with your presence and educating us and educating our viewers. After we go off, just kind of hang on so you can get Jamal's information and Walt's information. And we're going to get you in the parts of unknown and over there in Montgomery, Alabama.
Absolutely. I'm licensed in Florida and Georgia, getting ready to be licensed in Tennessee and Pennsylvania. If I need to get licensed in Alabama, I'm on the way. I can help you out.
All right.
Mel, we don't call it Alabama. We call it Elephant Town.
Listen. In all fairness, Alabama did lose the other day, so that made me feel nice. I'm a Miami fan, so, Yeah, I know, but it kind of blessed my heart a little bit when Alabama lost the other day. But I like you, Walt. I don't like you.
And Jamal is a Florida State fan, so
Jamal, I don't know if I'm gonna help you.
Hey, we in the same boat, right?
Yeah, I know. But no, I'll be there for you, despite you liking Florida State.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. But thank you all for having me. I had a wonderful time. Thank you so much for the invitation. I really do appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And then we're going to close it off like this. God bless